Circa. Bringing service to life.
Did you have a show with Jason Goodman this morning?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because I asked you and Jason to send me a link and neither of you did, so it's not in our show. But I've done two things. I've actually seen the hand of God 3 times a day. And one is, it turns out the evil Brits, between 1845 to 1852, they killed a whole shitload of Irish people by putting a majority of the UK army in Ireland and destroying crops and stealing food stores. So I don't know how proud any Brit would be about that, but I know I talked to a Brit earlier today who thinks it would be very just if Russia dealt with the United Kingdom for all the bullshit that the United Kingdom has been trying to put on Russia. So against that backdrop, first of all, before I turn it over to you, David, which I'm anxious to do, not because I'm anything other than tired, I want to just see who in the chat room can see the gift I got today first. This is a timed competition. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, who sees the new item first? David, over to you for anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. And of course, we go back in history, we're going to find horror stories all the way back to the Romans. One thing that strikes me is the so-called Holodomor, the terror famine, where Stalin worked with Anna Louise Strong and her agronomist husband to take seed away from the peasants in the Ukraine and flog it on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And I think about 10 million people died. So we have to be careful about the Russians riding in to save the past.
Wait a minute. What year was that, David?
1930.
Yeah, well, UK has been blaming everybody but themselves and the Romans since a long time before that. The UK is going to pay. That's the way it is, and no amount of talking is going to change the mind of Russia. But anyway, go ahead and tell us some more. Why don't you tell us about what you and my phone's ringing? Why don't you tell us what you and Jason talked about today while I handle this phone call? Over to you, David. Go ahead.
Okay, so with Jason, we talked about the Piranha toy shop, or the Piranha project, launched by Field Sister Christine Marcy in Serco, where Piranha is an initialism, but it's also a description of a project funded by the Department of Energy at the University of Tennessee and Battelle Institute. And unbelievably, this is a data collection and management and use scam that I think plugs directly into Obamacare and a process where people who are deemed to have abnormal views of anything, including 911 and global warming, can be sent to a psychiatrist. And this, of course, reminds me of the attempt to send you to a psychiatrist to prove that you weren't capable of flying. And fortunately, you had the nous to avoid going to the psychiatrist and get locked up in a psych ward.
Okay, hang on. Just let's take that one step at a time. What was your comment about who is trying to send me? Oh, I know what it was. You just said, if I'm not mistaken, that somebody wanted to send me to a shrink so I could no longer fly, right?
Yes.
That's not true. What they wanted to accomplish, and what they've accomplished with every other aviation whistleblower of which I'm aware, they wanted to remove my expert witness qualification. They could give a shit if I fly or starve. What they don't want is they don't want me in a courtroom with the ability to be considered an expert witness. Well, I got one fucking question for them. If I'm not an expert witness on aviation safety, name one. Can you name one, David, that knows more about this shit than me?
No.
Well, then fuck them. Here I come. And by the way, I'm giving them fair warning. I'm scheduled to be in court on May 25th of this year. But what I won't do is I won't let them know where. They don't play fair. I don't play fair. but I play fair first, and then I learn to play their game better than they do. David, can you guess what I might have underneath my Hawaiian flowered shirt?
A relatively hairy chest.
Well, yes, but between my relatively hairy chest, which reminds me, I just remember publishing Harry Schnauzer. I put up a picture of Dr. Harry Schnauzer in one or two radio shows, but no, I've got a picture of Matty McCann. And I posted the picture in the radio show ad. And this Matty McCann shirt, which I'm wearing, isn't something new. I've had it since September of 2010 when you and I, David, challenged MI6 to unfuck themselves when it comes to the death, the murder by MI6. That's my opinion. Gareth Williams. Do you remember when we exposed Gareth Williams' murderers and we got the investigation of Gareth Williams reopened? Do you recall that, David?
Yes.
Well, why do these dumb fuckers keep acting like dumb fuckers? Don't they know they're dead? I mean, they're literally dead in the water. But go ahead, keep talking.
Okay, so what I found, and it's relatively recently, is this extraordinary health surveillance network that's been set up at the University of Tennessee and Battelle Institute under a contract with the Department of the Environment. And that seems a little weird because the Department of Environment is only peripherally associated with health. And so one would think initially that they should have the Department of Health do this. Then I realized how this could, and I'm glad you pointed out that you believe the attempt to send you to a psychiatrist was to dilute or destroy your expert witness status in any future court. Well, they've lost that one because sooner or later, you, probably I, are going to be in court against these fellows, and they're going to have a few sphincter snapping moments. And I assume that applies to women because I think both men and women have sphincters. Is that correct?
Yes, I've checked. I've only checked one, but I did have 4 daughters. But it's not that I believe what I stated. I know it to be the case. I can rattle off names off the top of my head who were attacked by the shrinks. But first, let me identify who the fucking shrinks are that'll do anything for 30 shekels. Dr. Warren Silberman, who's been fired. Dr. Ed Elliott, who, for whatever reason, his little wiener got short and he retired on the 31st of July of 2018. And the next FAA doctor to be, well, actually there's a felony trial coming up for all 3 of those doctors. The third name, by the way, is Michael Berry. And Michael Berry may or may not have forced somebody into passing along a death threat against one of these whistleblowing pilots. Field McConnell of Northwest, Dan Hanley of United, Michael Driscoll of Spirit, Wayne O. Witter of Delta, Newton Dixon of Continental, and John Stepetich of Continental. Now, if any fucking judge wants to see their courtroom go into chaos, invite me into a courtroom. I don't think you have the balls, do you? Your lack of honor. David, over to you.
Yeah, right. So now you speak Spanish, I think. Now, I understand the word for the fish to be piranha, and then there's a squiggle over the N. Do you know what that means?
That's a tilde, but piranha doesn't typically have a tilde. I've never seen it, but let's put this to the chat room. Can anybody in the chat room post a published piranha with a tilde, and could somebody else post a published piranha with no tilde? I don't know the answer, but I know how to pronounce piranha, and piranha is pronounced piranha. But if it had a tilde, it would be pronounced piranha. Because, oh, there's a fucking douchebag. That's Warren Silberman. I'm quite certain. Eager Beaver, can you tell me if that's Warren Silberman? Because this guy is a pissant mafia jerk. No offense to pissants that aren't jerks or in the mafia. These guys, yeah, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Warren Silberman. Yeah, he's no longer with the FAA. Somebody or some organization got his sorry ass fired. David, over to you.
Okay, so what I went through with Jason is this idea that I called it an initialism because it was an acronym originally with Piranha. And then I looked up this project at the University of Tennessee. They call it Piranha. And then I don't know about the tilde, but anyway, that's by the by. So I wanted to introduce the word or letter the word associated with H. But let me go through Piranha as it presently stood in 257. And the statement there is that your sister, who's, I believe, one day people will understand that she puts Dr. Mengele into the shade. Now, do you remember the name Dr. Mengele, Field?
Was he from Mandalay Bay?
Now, Mengele, he was a doctor that worked on the Jews and the homosexuals and the gypsies in the concentration camps.
Yes, but you're mispronouncing his name.
Go ahead.
It's Dr. Mandela.
It is?
Let's put it out to the chat. Otherwise, it looks like we're arguing. Chat, is Mendele correct or is Mandela correct? David, you can watch. Go ahead.
I thought it was Mengele, Mengele.
Oh, yes, you're right. Mengele. It's pronounced Mengele, I think. Let's find out. We got some smart chatters, and they're going to tell us if it's pronounced Mengele. He's a Project Paperclip, sorry, Green. Mengele was Podesta's father. There you go, David. Do you see how smart our chat room is?
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's incredible.
Well, it keeps going. Look at it. Look at it. I mean, it's going and going and going. And the people that are doing this evil, and I'm going to state with no hesitation, the root of all evil is not the love of money anymore. The root of all evil, if you want to find a physical root, go to the UK government and the Vatican Jesuits, period. Anybody that wants to argue that with me is invited to lose. David, over to you.
Well, I'm going to disagree because I think we can start with your sister, Conair and Serco and the senior executive service, but we don't need to argue because I think what I'm trying to convey to Jason is that we are masters of two forms of deception. And you and I don't think we've ever entered into a pissing contest.
Okay, well, let's not enter into one. Just go ahead and agree with me that the UK is evil. I've got a phone call. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's go through this Piranha acronym. So the P in Piranha stands for polonium. That is polonium-210, which was apparently derived from the US Atomic Energy Commission's method for recovering polonium-210 from bismuth. And the assertion is under this this project that there was an administration through a hollowed out spoon handle into the teapot sampled by the late Alexander Litvinenko or his killer in the London's Millennium Hotel to stop a whistleblower from exposing a Serco pedophile blackmail ring in the Kremlin. Now, people might say, well, why do we think, and maybe no one else thinks in Abel Danger, that there is a blackmail ring in the Kremlin? But I look at this photograph of Vladimir Putin kissing a little boy in the stomach. He lifted his shirt, he kissed him on the stomach, and he was seen around the world by a fairly horrified reaction. And he said, oh, it was just the effect he had on me. He was like a kitten that needed to be cuddled. Well, I personally don't like that. If I was the Russian president, I don't think I'd be doing that. And it sends all kinds of wrong signals. But by the by, so polonium is a very toxic substance. And Mr. Alexander Litvinenko died a very slow and agonizing death. Now, going back to Mengele, apparently he liked to find identical twins in the concentration camp, and he would treat them with various drugs and chemicals, etc., to see the different kinds of reaction or whether they were replicated across the identical twins. So he was a brutal scumbag. He was operating on these twins without anesthetics and basically an all-round horrible individual. But that leads me to this extraordinary development of ethnic ammunition, but I'll come to that in a minute. So P in Piranha is for polonium-210. The next letter I is for injectors. And what they've developed at the US Patent and Trademark Office is a register of various devices that can inject chemicals or bioweapons or hallucinogens or paralytics into a body to judge and bet on the various responses, including how long such an injected individual is going to live. So under injectors, we have apparently derived from the likes of and the predecessors to Henke Sass Wolf GmbH's injector for injecting pellets application, which can deliver a precise dose of medicine or poison to a patient or a victim and subsequently allow Serco to inject fake news of death or recovery to frame the innocent and shelter the guilty. Now, what is that ancient law that I think it was initiated by King Ethelred the Unready? The Old English unready means unrede, which I believe is ill-advised. That is to say, he wasn't getting good advice, but he did come up with something, an extraordinary phrase that's echoed down the common law to the present time: accuse no innocent and shelter no guilty. Now, your sister's verminous friends have been accusing the innocent and sheltered the guilty for decades, at least as far back as when she conceived Mendenhall's baby in 1978. And so we have bizarre accusations that frame the innocent, including the accusation that the lad at 10 years old who killed John Benet Ramsey was her brother. Notwithstanding there's taser marks on her ear or below her ear and on her belly, consistent with your sister's issue of weaponized tasers. And in this particular case, apparently to keep the little girl silent while she was sodomized and garroted. Around her neck was a expertly tied military black ops garrote. Her skull was almost fractured off. The level of brutality visited on that poor little girl is almost unbelievable, probably similar to the brutality visited on the bodies of the First Nations prostitutes up at the pig farm in British Columbia, where Field, I don't know if you agree, but I think my current theory is that there will be up to 1,700 to 2,000 guests invited to the pig farm for a rave on a Friday night, many of them transported by your sister's United States Justice Prisoner and Alien Transportation System, and they would go out to the barn where there was a dance hall. Apparently they'd invested more money in that barn than any nightclub in downtown Vancouver. That's where they played the Dead on Arrival grunge group, played, for example, music like The Last Scream of the Missing Neighbors. And I think, Field, yet to be proven, but I'm going to research it, that the guests at those raves were given BZ gas, which is a super hallucinogen, which would allow them, and that was developed under the MK Ultra program, with which I believe your sister familiarized herself when she was trying to be a doctor. I think you told me she flunked her doctor's exam or whatever it was. Can you remind me, is that correct, or did I misunderstand you?
No, it is correct, and you did understand me, and specifically she had to take 2 courses in pre-med at George Washington University, which is for poor Jews, whereas the rich Jews would send their kids to Georgetown. Now that's a pretty racist sentence, but I want to quote the Bible. Isaiah 55:11 says, "And so it is with the words of my mouth, they will not depart from me and return void without having accomplished the purpose for which I sent them." Yeah, okay. Well, now that we understand I say things for a reason, she took, let's see, comparative analysis and qualitative analysis, or something like that, and she flunked the quantitative and qualitative, and she flunked the qualitative, I believe. And it doesn't matter. What does matter is she flunked out of medical school, and she's had a bee in her bonnet and a stick up her ass ever since. It's time for Donald Trump and the other three Marines to throw her sorry ass in the slammer. I just put up a picture, David, that is very, very nice. It's just to show how lovely we are. You haven't seen it yet. Maybe I didn't put it up yet. Yeah, no, I put it up. There it is. Above John Benet Ramsey's skull is courtesy extended to our former president in keeping with his present situation. And it's a comment about George H.W. Bush. Now, David, I'm going to shock you with what somebody just told me in a phone call. This Dr. Mengele, which we are not agreeing on how to pronounce it. Do you have any idea, or do you have any reason to believe or not believe that Senator Kerry's wife, whose name is Teresa Heinz Kerry, do you have any reason to suspect that her biological father was not an associate of Dr. Mengele? Have you ever heard that?
Never heard of it, Phil.
Well, I'm trying to demonstrate the power of our chat room. And in aviation, pilots learn very early that they have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a very good reason, so they can listen. So anyway, back to what you were talking about. I've got to ask the chat room. In fact, I'll do it live. I'll ask the chat room if anybody can tell me what day the Organic Act of 1871 got signed or put into effect, because I want to compare that date to October 8th of 1871. David, over to you.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Phil, and thank you, JJ, putting that collage of the little girl's brutalized body. And I'm not an expert in marks left by a taser, but this looks suspiciously like the burn marks from a 50,000 volt shock put into her belly and just below her ear, presumably to stop her screaming with pain as she was sodomized and strangled. And to imagine that the media would be so disgustingly complicit in to point suspicion at the brother of 10 years old when you look at what was done to the little girl's body, I mean, I think they should withdraw the license from half of these organizations because they are beyond pathetic. That was required a great deal of strength, and skill, like to make the knot. I don't know the proper name for the knot that was around the garrote that basically took her life. And what I think, and this may be horrifying, I think there was a snuff film being made in the basement of the home, and this was transmitted, and I don't quite know the mechanism available in what this would be December the 25th of 1996. But it's conceivable that that was being transmitted outside and people were betting on the time of death of the little girl. I believe that was certainly, or almost certainly, taking place out at the pig farm, as these women were possibly shot with these ethnic bullets. And the ethnic bullets were loaded up with, I don't know, paralytics, anticoagulants, hallucinogens, nerve gas, or whatever. And then, of course, they started dying. And it would be possible for Starnet Communications in Vancouver, I remember they were raided on the 20th of August of 1999 by a 100-man or woman SWAT team, including 2, I don't know if delegations is the right word, sent up from the United States, one from Customs and one from IRS. And all of the kit, recording these disgusting snuff films and tortures, was taken away. And I think your sister directed that extraction of the evidence of a series of snuff films of unimaginable brutality. But I digress. So, Field, we have ricin, which is potentially derived from ICEYE's, which is a Japanese outfit, immunopotentiator containing ricin, US 06389456, and allegedly used to kill the late Georgy Markov, a Bulgarian dissident writer, on a London street via a pellet fired into his leg from a hollowed out umbrella. And apparently Georgy Markov was alleging that there were pedophiles in the Kremlin. Now, was there any association between his murder, MI6, British intelligence, or this selection of weapons developed by the United States through the patent office? I don't know, but an interesting line of inquiry. So the A in Piranha after the R is anthrax. And this was allegedly procured from the Ministry of Defense at Porton Down through the Serco supply chain. Yes, folks, Serco operates the facilities management at Porton Down through the Serco supply chain and mixed with Evernick Degusa's pyrogenically produced silicon dioxide powder and dispersion thereof for the Amerithrax attack post 9/11. And here I want to point the finger at one Robert Mueller, former director of the FBI, and make an allegation. Robert Mueller knew that the anthrax bacteria was derived from the Ames strain in the custody of the Porton Down establishment, and that he had organized and then aborted, because he's a coward, an FBI delegation, if that's the right word, to go to Porton Down and check the custody of the Ames strain that was in the letters sent to various senators and media officers. And those bacilli, as I understand it, are heavy and they sort of get stuck in the ground. And if you can absorb it, you can get very sick and die. But to weaponize anthrax bacteria, you need to mix it with something that is very good at dispersing it into the atmosphere. So when they opened those envelopes, apparently a number of people got inhalation anthrax, which is a very unpleasant way of dying, where the anthrax bacilli get lodged into the trachea before going into the lungs.
Trachea.
Trachea, okay.
But anyway, I'll give you one back. Can you pronounce aluminum for me correctly?
Well, if it's correct, it's got to be aluminium.
That's what I was looking for. You passed. Go ahead.
You dropped off one of our letters, you know.
That's funny. I got a DWI once because a cop said, the reason we pulled you over is we have reason to think that David Hawkins has turned you into a drunk pilot. And they said, yeah, and these two cops in Southern California said, could you walk a straight line? And I said, not even on my best of days. Do we have another method? And they said, yeah, go ahead and say the alphabet. And I gave them 25 out of 26 letters. And they said, we're going to have to take you to the brand new Orange County, and it was brand new, Orange County Slammer. And I said, well, why would you want to take me there? I can follow you in my car. They said, well, you can't drive because you only gave us 25 letters. And I said, which letter do you think I didn't give you? They said, you didn't mention P. And I said, I was raised in Arkansas. We didn't have all the fucking letters. They didn't think that was funny. But I did get a nice breakfast before I got out early the next morning to go fly for the Marine Corps. David, over to you.
Do you know I was arrested in Billings, Montana?
What, for sodomy against a sheep?
No, there weren't any sheep. It was loitering under a rhododendron bush with intent, although I don't know what the intent was, but they thought we were vagrants. I was with some university friends, and we didn't have much money. We'd driven a car, I think, I don't know.
It was a Plymouth.
What?
It was a Plymouth.
It was a Chevy Impala.
That's what I meant to say. When I said Plymouth, I meant Chevy Impala.
Where I first felt freedom in coming to the United States, it was one of those canvas tops.
Yeah.
And this would be what, 1964, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I was driving down the motorway, but unfortunately there were two engineers and one physicist in the car. We'd never got in a car with a automatic gearbox, right? So we thought L meant, I don't know what we thought it was, live, I guess, but it's a low gear, right?
Yeah, but it's not a gearbox, it's a transmission. I'll just interpret for you. Go ahead.
Okay, anyway, we put it in L, which is low gear, and then we drove it down the motorway at flat stick until we blew up the engine.
Yes, that's because you would have had, how fast do you think you were going? 70 or higher?
Well, we went the maximum. We thought this is a gutless pile of crap, right?
Well, now wait a minute. So is it the gutless car or the ill-advised drivers? Let me tell you, back then there was no speed limit in fact, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you right now how good our chat room is. There was no speed limit in Montana in 1964. The speed limit sign said R and P. Do you have any idea, not you, David, but the chat room people, what R and P, Romeo and Papa, what did R and P mean? And what I'm doing here is I'm 70 miles. Yeah, don't worry about that. So yeah, I'm going to do the math for you because I have a couple of Chevy engines in some of the cars I have. If you were going 70 or more in first gear, you would be revving the engine over 6,500 to 8,000 RPM. Let me see if Jack Mac's in the chat room right now. He can give us a better opinion. Yeah, Jack Mac will put it in the chat room. 1964 Chevy 283 or 327 with a 3-speed automatic, Jack Mac. Let's assume 75 miles an hour. What RPM do you think it would have been turning right up until it threw all the rods? David, if you watch the chat room, he'll tell you. Over to you.
Okay, thanks. Well, anyway, we'd driven it in low, probably redlining it in terms of revs, but not noticing it particularly. The hood was down. We were listening to whatever was what would be the popular songs in 1964. All I know is that I remember feeling I'd never felt so free in my life in America, driving down, even though the engine was over revving, and I still remember that sensation. Over to you.
Yes, 1964 would have had a song like this. It would, let's see. Ferry, cross the Mersey, for this is the land I love, and here I'll stay. People around every corner just seem to smile and say, we don't care what your name is, Hawk, we'll never chase you away. And so... Anyway, I'm going to sing to Denise, but our chat room is the world's most dangerous chat room, and anybody who disagrees with that, first of all, is going to be, oh yeah, 58 Power Glide, 5800. Okay, Jack Mac says it was probably a Power Glide, which is a 2-speed, which would have had DNL. That means like drive and low. God, you guys are so fucked up.
It's so embarrassing. But,
no, don't be embarrassed.
How are we supposed to know?
No, of course not. That's divide and conquer. Like when I go to England and speak, and I say that David Cameron works for a law firm, Cameron, wanker, tosser, shirt lifter, and Cameron, people all turn red because they think I'm putting my foot in my mouth. No, I'm not. I'm sticking my foot up their ass. Over to you, David.
Right. And of course, you are dealing with Scots there.
Well, I am a Scot, at least 1/4. And my foot, my right foot, is one of my 25% of Scottish items.
Okay. Anyway, so I was when we arrived. I think the exhaust fell off, or the radiator blew, or something. Anyway, it was very embarrassing. But because we were delivering a car from A to B, we were able to take it to a mechanic to get it fixed. But we didn't have any money to stay anywhere. So there was this rhododendron bush in what I thought was a public park. So we crawled under it. There were 2 engineers and 1 physicist. But I had made a mistake because for some reason I hadn't brought enough socks. So I had one ankle that was being stung by a mosquito. So I put a towel around my ankles and a towel around my head and bedded down for the night. And I think one of my colleagues urinated against the rhododendron bush. And because it was this guy's large garden, private garden, it wasn't a park, he called the cops. And I felt a tap on my shoulder. So I unwound the towel from my head and I saw a little semicircle of cops with their guns drawn. And I said, what's going on? I'm British. Or something, fairly lame. and they said that we think you're vagrants. Apparently, there's a law against vagrancy in Billings, Montana. And I said, well, we're actually students who are on a holiday in the States, and we love it here, but we don't have much money. What do you suggest? And they said, they got fairly friendly. And they said, all right, well, we'll put you in the cell for the night, but we want you out of town in the morning. So I explained about the car getting fixed, and they understood. So we spent the night in the slammer, which I thought was amazing. So I don't know whether I got a police record, but if it was probably for stupidity and vagrancy. What do you think?
Well, I think you'd be guilty as charged if those were the only two cases. But I recall from your previously having a private conversation with me that you three guys had a conversation about a sheep that had gotten high-centered on a barbed wire fence. And one of your engineer friends said, boy, I wish that was Marilyn Monroe. And the other engineer friend said, boy, I wish that was Jane Mansfield. And then you said, I wish it was dark. What did you mean by that exactly, David?
You mean a dark-skinned sheep?
No, dark like nobody'd see you having your way with a sheep, which is also illegal. It's called sodomy, but I don't have time to teach you English. So over to you, David.
Well, interesting you should talk about sodomy, because that looks like what happened to your sister in November of 1978, right?
Yeah. And my sister can go ahead and explain that to anybody, but she can't explain it to me, my mother, or my father. We are ashamed of her. Over to you.
Right. So piranha, moving on, I've now got to the N. And the N in piranha stands for Novichok, which is an interesting element or a nerve agent. And the theory that I'm developing at the moment, because were you aware that there's Novichok apparently spread all over the place, but if you touch Novichok in any significant quantities, you're dead in about 10 minutes. It's 8 times more lethal than VX gas, which was invented by the British at Porton Down. So the allegation by British intelligence that the Scruples were poisoned with Novichok doesn't stand up to encounter. And did you know that Julia Skripal, apparently 2 days into her hospital stay, recovered enough to start sending messages out over the Russian equivalent of Facebook? Were you aware of that, Phil?
No, but that's why I come to Able Danger, is to learn. And some lady with a Hawaiian name, Kialani, thinks that you and I are humorous. I don't think we're humorous, David. I know you're not, but...
Well, I am. I'm funnier than you are.
Okay, spell humor.
Depends what... okay, Humor.
That's not English, that's American.
I'm throwing you a mackerel.
Well, I'm going to throw you one because you said depends, right?
Yes, that's a form of containment if your bladder leaks.
Or if your pooper leaks.
Yes, I suppose.
Yes, and I sent you a case of the 3-week depends. Did you get them in the mail yet?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. Well, don't check your postal box because I sent it FedEx. But anyway, over to you.
Okay, now what's this picture from Griffin Eagle of these men being accosted by sheep?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'll scroll up to where I see it. Tell me where it is. Is it near the bottom or is it somewhere
near
else?
the bottom, yeah.
Oh, well, let me go find out. Oh, yeah, that's a bunch of British attorneys. They're being serviced by sheep. That's all that is. You know how
we had a former prime minister being serviced by a dead pig's head.
No, he wasn't being serviced. He was servicing.
Oh, okay.
See, even a dead pig wouldn't have anything to do with Cameron or any of the other Bullington boys.
Right, I guess so. Where were we? Are we distracted? No, we're not distracted, are we?
No, you were under a rhododendron bush, and one of your friends had urinated, and I was in jail in Orange County, California, but I got out early because they needed me to fly. And if people think I can't remember, I can. I flew to San Clemente Island, and watch how fast Gobsmack, the Telford Russian, Karen S., Liverish, or J-Kip, one of those 5 people will put up San Clemente Island, and it'll prove that it's about 60 miles west-southwest of El Toro Marine Base. And I find it really humorous that you cannot drive a 1970 Cadillac Eldorado when you're plastered, but you can fly a KC-130 out and land on a small strip on an island. So it's obviously the laws in the United States of America and the United Kingdom are all about controlling people and generating revenue. They have nothing to do with reality. David, over to you.
Yeah, and they're doing it through allegedly through the Piranha toy shop, or the Piranha project, put together by your sister and the Con Air characters that she flew around the country, and their components or their equivalent in the United Kingdom. So Piranha, I'm up to N. Novichok, allegedly mixed with Buzz or BZ, derived from FMC Corp's process for making 3-quinoclidinol benzylate. I guess benzylate gives you the BZ. This is a super hallucinogenic, apparently developed by your sister through her Marshall's Prisoner Medical Services Program, and administered to one or more of the nearly 1 million prisoners that she handled directly or indirectly through Con Air in the period 1990 to 2000, where I think she created a cadre, I think that's a nice revolutionary word, of prisoners whose brains had been scrambled by this super hallucinogenic, who could happily fly up to a rave on a Friday night do at the pig farm and torture women by firing bullets into their bodies with a mix of, I don't know, Novichok or BZ that would send them into agonies of pain, ultimately allow betting to take place through Starnet Communications, where your sister probably confiscated all the kit on August the 20th of 1999, taking it down to, and there's a variety of destinations I think she would have taken it to, and I believe one of my favorites is building number 7, floor number 25, which I think was a virtual war room for the 9/11 attack. But another one that I'm leaning towards at the moment, I don't know what you feel, is Phantom Works War Room at Boeing headquarters in Chicago.
Yes, and what's that woman's name again? Pamela somebody?
Yeah, Dr. Pamela Drew.
Well, she can kiss my ass also.
Well, I don't know if there's going to be, from all the invitations you've been issuing, there might be a bit of a queue. You don't want to make the poor woman wait, do you?
Well, no, Pamela Drew never should have even talked to Christine Marcy. Christine Marcy is like a leper. Everyone she touches gets destroyed. David, do you see a picture of a hand-drawn pencil piece of artwork of a pig's head? And I'm holding it.
Yes, Phil.
Yeah. I have no idea where that came from, but Vanishing Point must. So Vanishing Point, can you tell us in the chat room how you knew about that pig's head? But over to you, David, because I don't want you to digress anymore.
Okay, so now we come to the A in Piranha, and as I said, I'm going to be introducing H for health abnormalities on the basis that the real story behind Obamacare, which was a scam set up by Barry Svitoro, was to monitor we the people or the citizens and check for abnormalities that might be treated by, we can call it ethnic bullets or ethnic ammo. You see, at the end of the day, whether it's a pipe dream or not, I believe people like Mengele and his successors, right through to Project Operation Paperclip and the CIA and the Senior Executive Service, have had wet dreams about the idea that they might eventually be able to identify a poison that was ethnically specific, that might target skin color, you know, if you go for blacks or browns or yellows, or even people who had some psychological disorder, including a failure to believe that carbon dioxide is a principal cause of catastrophic anthropogenic global warming, which of course is bullshit, because carbon dioxide is a fertilizer gas. But the minds of the masses have been manipulated to the point where you can go to university and study engineering or physics and come out thinking that it's a plausible view that carbon dioxide, which is a trace gas, wholly beneficial, transparent and odorless, and useful for fertilizing plants, could actually cause catastrophic climate change. So we've got a whole generation of people who, with a combination of drugs and second-rate education in the Five Eyes countries, are now waiting to lay back and be taken over by the intruders or the insurrectionists. So, I've discovered when the first, how shall I put it, ethnic ammo was developed, and it was a place in India called Dum Dum. And the British developed an arsenal of Dum Dum bullets, and their rationale was that if they were charged by civilized soldiers, if that's the right word, and shot them, the average soldier would lie down and wait for an ambulance and a stretcher to take them away and have their wounds dressed. But fanatical tribesmen apparently could take up to 6 small-bore bullets and carry on, and of course if they reached you and you were shooting at them, they might cut your head off. So the British sense of fair play, they decided, apparently with the Boers in South Africa, that they would go to the Hague Convention in 1899 and they would vote for the continued use of the Dum Dum bullet to control their colonial assets.
Now, David, speaking of colonial assets, did you say something about fair play or foreplay?
I mentioned fair play, Phil.
Oh, okay, because I thought you were talking about, English foreplay. And, since I'm married to a Brit, I know what typical men suggest to their lady friends. But, fortunately, I'm not typical, and neither is my wife, Denise Irene Clark McConnell. But is it true, David, that when you were in college, that your idea of foreplay was telling some young lady to get in the Vauxhall?
No, I tended to soften up is the wrong word, but I tended to take my partners and try and make them laugh.
Well, I think they would if you saw what your urologist had to focus and squint for. But continue. I don't mean to digress you.
No, I don't think digress is transitive, Phil.
Well, I'm not a transgender, so I guess we're equal.
Yeah, no, true. I think you went divert me.
Okay. Whatever you said, I agree with.
That's unusual.
I know, but I'm in a good mood today. You know why?
Why?
Because we have victory over these evil fuckers, and there's not a thing they can do about it. Tonight, Howdy Doody is going out to San Francisco to speak with Comey, and I'm the first one in the world to say this. I believe Field McConnell, being of a sound mind and a stout figure, believe that Mike Pence will be forced to step down, and he will be replaced by General Michael Flynn, who was the original choice for vice president. In other words, Donald Trump, when he said that he would serve the White Hats as president, he wanted Michael Flynn to be the vice president. I believe that to be true, and that keeps me out of libelous trouble, because if I believe it, I believe it. Nobody can tell me to believe otherwise. I also believe that Mike Pence is not only a pedophile, but a child murderer. And that is the reason why I believe he would be removed, if that's true. And I'm not saying it's true. That would be libelous. I'm saying I believe it to be true. David, over to you.
Right. So going back to 1899, the British, in order to control the fanatical hordes of barbarians crashing in on their front lines, adopted and invented the Dum Dum bullet, so-called, which had a hollow point option. And what we have to ask ourselves is, when the people at the Hague Convention of 1899 voted 22-2 against the use of such bullets, two parties that were there, I don't know what the political representation of the Boers was in South Africa, but the Brits and the Boers voted to retain the right to use hollow point ammunition. Now, these kind of ideas, they never go away. And then somewhere along the line that passes Nicholas Soames through the rear view of your sister in a coupling of November 1978, which gave result to a Mendenhall baby, which would appear to be your niece, Jessica Marcy, and it pains me. I don't know the young woman. There's no reason for me to believe she's good or bad or evil. We're not responsible for who brings us into the world. But if it really was the DNA of Nicholas Soames, who's the grandson of Winston Churchill, and the DNA of your sister, who seems to have a number of envies and hatreds of heterosexual white men, it's a pretty tough introduction to life. Now, of course, who the hell is Nicholas Soames? Well, he's kind of significant because he was Minister of Defense in the United Kingdom in the John Major government from 1994 to 1997, when Serco was training the air traffic controllers in Malaysia. And it's, I think, our collective belief that Serco taught these people how to take a plane off its regular en route airway using various patents from Boeing, including the Flight Intervention Management System. But I digress. So coming back to the A, what they have now is, and it's fascinating as to who developed this kind of stuff, at Northwestern University, under a contract with the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, they developed a detoxification system, which they tested on various kinds of poisons, including Novichok. And to test it on a poison, you need some samples of the Novichok. So when British intelligence said it was the Russians that developed Novichok, and the Russians replied, well, we only had some of the precursor agents to Novichok, and we called that Foliant. And the word Novichok came from the West, that is the United States and the United Kingdom. And the Russians go on to say, well, your people from the Defense Threat Reduction Agency came out of Russia to supervise the destruction of the chemical precursors to Novichok, just as they did on the ship. And someone, maybe you can find the name of that ship, but it anchors itself in the Mediterranean and then disposes of 1,600 tons of Syrian chemical agents, supervised by people from the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, flying under the Senior Executive Service gold fringe flag. So I believe, Phil, that Bashar al-Assad didn't have any of this stock of nerve gas that allegedly killed the people in Douma, that in fact it was a plant by British and American intelligence using shells or mortars from the United States Defense Ammunition Center, operated by Serco. Right? So Serco, again and again, in every significant arm of the United States government, is actually launching what are known as man-in-the-middle attacks, overseen by the Senior Executive Service and delivered to the crime scene through the United States Justice, Prisoner and Alien Transportation System, and hallucinating prisoners, courtesy of your sister's equivalent of the MK Ultra program. Over to you, Phil.
I'm just asking and I don't expect that you'll believe this or understand it, and don't feel bad. A lot of people won't. I just put up something. I was typing. Can I get 3 people to be my witness that I am suggesting on the 23rd of April of 2018, which is my 28-year-old daughter's birthday? Keep in mind, I just had a new grandson Friday. Actually, it was Thursday night at 11:58 p.m., but I'd gone off duty, so it was Friday in my mind. I was dreaming of Denise and our lovely trip that we're going to take on Operation Sandy Wreath. We're going to be going up to Langolan to meet with some people, including a Russian from Telford, 2 French people. One of the French people, well, both of the French people have no confidence in Macaroni Man or whoever the dipshit is that's in charge of France. Just like it's turned out in today's news, and I haven't mentioned this yet because I haven't had time. I got an email today that suggested, oh, wait a minute, David. Without identifying the man's name, do you know a man in Vancouver, British Columbia area who is aware of a property named Tofino?
Yes.
That's who I got the email from, suggesting that Justin Castro is a pedophile. Did you get the email from the man from Tofino?
Yes.
Now, don't you think that's pretty shocking news if it's in fact true?
Yeah, sure, and I think there's grounds for that presumption.
Well, good. Then I'm going to make two comments right now. On the 23rd of April of 2018, I, Field McConnell, USMC 0116513, suggest that President Trump will find an opportunity, a motive, and a weapon to replace VPOTUS Mike Pence with General Michael Flynn. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to get thrown in the jail or the psychiatric hospital. I'm saying it because I believe it to be true. And weren't you down in Dallas in 1964 talking to somebody's barber, Jack Rubenstein?
Jack Ruby's barber.
Yeah, actually it's Jack Rubenstein, but let's not quibble. Jack Ruby's barber, and you were down there. And what you didn't get told by Jack Ruby's barber is that JFK did not want LBJ on the ticket. Just like Hillary, who is a pervert herself, Hillary probably didn't mind having Tim Kaine, known pedophile, on her ticket. But Donald Trump certainly does mind and did mind having a pedophile on his ticket, but the deep state hadn't been enucleated yet. David, I did teach you what enucleated means, didn't I?
Yes.
What does it mean? I've forgotten.
Enucleated means you insert something into the nucleus of something and then take out the guts of it, and you take the inside to the outside and the outside to the inside.
Yes.
Like Mendenhall's baby.
Yes. So what we've done in this one radio show, we've announced that Russia may pay back the UK historical generational evil of the attack on the Irish population between 1845 and 1852. We've announced that Justin Castro is probably a pedophile. We've announced that General Michael Flynn, David, I can't believe all this going on today. Did you know that Michael Flynn has been exonerated by the FBI just today?
Of what?
Well, they thought that he lied or misrepresented the truth, I believe. But see, don't ask me any questions. I don't know jack shit. But our chat room does. Chat room, would someone please tell me what Michael Flynn got exonerated of today, as in the false statements that prevented him from being the vice president, perhaps? Of course, it's not over till the fat lady passes gas. He may be the vice president before Operation Sandy Wreath concludes on the 20th of May of 2018. Now, David, Operation Sandy Wreath, you can't really find it, I don't think, right now. But by tomorrow morning, it'll be, well, not only will it be easily found by Googling, it'll also be the subject of a Twitter tweet. Because I know some people that know how to Twitter, just like I know how to jitter, as in jitterbug. In fact, once I had a pretty girl, her name, it doesn't matter. She ran away with another guy. Now he won't even look at her. Hats off to Larry. That's a song. In fact, there's a wonderful collection of 3 Del Shannon songs, all of which I think were sung in England, but Hats Off to Larry was first, or was it second? Keep Searching, but the third one was Runaway. Now, just so some of you student Googlers can learn from a master, watch how quickly Agent Gobsmack will find the specific YouTube that has a Del Shannon medley of 3 songs: Keep Searching, Hats Off to Larry, and Runaway. And Abel Danger will keep searching as long as we have to, until all the bad people run away from Abel Danger, at which point we'll take our hat off to Larry Silverstein, who's dumber than a box of rocks because he got involved with Warren Buffett and General Electric on the attack on 9/11. David, over to you. I got to get my white hat.
All right, so I'm just looking at this patent that's been granted for the biological bullet, and I don't know if one can really beat this in terms of bland, cynical statement of evil. But let me just read you what I just put in the chat room. The present invention is able to deliver a wide variety of biological active substances and combinations of biological active substances. This includes, but is not limited to catalysts, enzymes, or inhibitors such as to cause or inhibit biochemical reactions in the target, vasodilators and anticoagulants, such as to cause enhanced wound bleeding in the target, radioactive substances such as to cause cellular and DNA damage, or to detect a wounded target trying to pass through airport security instruments, or to track a wounded target, such as by detecting radiation in dripping blood, nerve agents and neurotoxins such as to damage, incapacitate, or kill a target from a non-fatal bullet wound, blistering agents, nettle agents, urticants, whatever that is, and corrosives, to cause tissue damage and to incapacitate the target with excessive pain, other pain-inducing agents, muscle relaxants, paralytics, and sedatives, to slow or to stop a target, such as when not trying to kill the target, spasmodic agents and convulsives to incapacitate and potentially kill the target, hallucinogenic agents to disorient a target, infectious agents such as to inoculate a target so as to infect that target, as well as delivering curative agents to a target at a distance when it would otherwise be unsafe to administer the curative agent in close contact, such as when the target is hostile. So in the context of your sister, senior executive service at the Department of Homeland Security, buying 1.4 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition through the Defense Ammunition Center run by Circa, how do you feel about the security of your country, Field? Over to you.
I feel that the country that I live in, that I served 26 years, my father served 30, and my mother served several, is in the hands of God, and therefore it can't be wrested away by anybody. How's that for an answer, David?
That's an excellent answer, Field, and I think we are on God's mission. And I think between you and I, with the master of strategic and tactical deception, we don't need to divide that boundary too tightly. I think when people visit Abel Danger website, they're totally confused. I think I said that to Jason Goodman. I don't understand how powerful and how weak Abel Danger is, but I am damn sure that the enemy doesn't have a clue. And that's the way we want it, I believe. That is, we'll come out of the shadows. This is the art of war, Sun Tzu, or whatever his name is, and we will strike where the enemy thinks we're weakest, and we will evade where the enemy thinks we're strongest.
You know what that reminds me of, David?
What?
2 or 3 radio shows ago, I talked about being a young Marine second lieutenant, and I was in charge of a defensive position with 13 Marines, and the captain in charge of me for this exercise told me to deploy my 13 men in the most defensive, secure, and powerful formation that I could think of. So I took the 2 biggest Marines and myself, and when I differentiate 2 biggest Marines and myself, the other 2 were second lieutenants pretending like they were enlisted. And I have great and undying and indefeatable, or is it undefeatable, love and respect for enlisted people of all countries. Anyway, so this captain says, okay, Lieutenant McConnell, go ahead and deploy your men in a way that you can't be overrun. So I had 10 of them, the 10 normal people facing the threat axis, and I took the 2 biggest guys and myself, and we faced the rear. And he said, you must not understand Marine Corps tactics because you should have all 13 guns pointed towards the threat axis. And I said to this Marine captain, you must not understand intelligence because the intelligence might be all fucked up and they come from the wrong direction. So I'm supporting what you say, that nobody understands Abel Danger. And I just said that to a couple people yesterday in this office. I said, David and I don't really know what we're doing, but we know nobody's ever done it before, and therefore nobody's ever done it as well. David, over to you.
and nobody has a defense against it.
That's called satire, isn't it?
Possibly.
Yeah, okay, well, good. Well, I proved that to be right. You go ahead and pontificate.
Okay, well, some of the closing words in this patent, the biologic bullet, and remember there's 1.4 billion rounds of these bullets hidden in the United States in plain view, and I'm going to ask you and then I'm going to tell you where I think they're hidden, but that's either by the by. So an even further object of the present invention is to provide a new and improved biological active bullet system, which is susceptible of a low cost of manufacture with regard to both materials and labor, and which accordingly is then susceptible of low prices of sale, thereby making such biological active bullet system economical. Because the biological active bullet has the ability to kill a target that would otherwise survive a non-fatal gunshot wound, the invention also has potential to conserve ammunition. Oh, bully for them. So instead of using 1.4 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition to kill everyone in America, they might be able to get by with, what's the population of the United States, Phil?
330 million, of which about 30 million are here without papers, but that's okay. You can get according to Chuck Schumer, who I like to call Chuck the Schmuck, it's okay to bring Muslims in by the plane load, even if they have to come in at night at airports like, for instance, St. Louis, Memphis. When they bring the Muslims in at night, they think that they're going to buy time for the globalists, which they're not. But yet it takes 16 months for them to allow my wife to come in soon, which is going to cost them $6 billion. Let me do the math for you. Unlawful imprisonment is $1.44 million a day penalty. When you violate RICO, you can triple it. 1.44 times 3 is around 4.32, but under God's law, you quadruple it. 1.44 becomes 2 times that would be 2.88, which would become 5.78 quadrupled. And so the amount of time that has been stolen from Denise and I is presently valued at about $6 billion. And if anybody thinks I'm not going to bring that case, well, I guess you haven't been listening to Abel Danger very long. David, over to you.
Yeah, so just going back to the numbers game, and I think as a strategic deception specialist and tactical deception specialist, we need to understand the numbers. There's 1.4 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition hidden in plain view in the United States. Each one of those bullets could be loaded up with under 2 milligrams of ricin, which could occupy a volume of space in the bullet less than 0.5% the size of an average aspirin tablet, and would have a minimal effect on the bullet's ballistics. So merely by shooting 330 million Americans, men, women, children, and illegal immigrants, with these biological bullets containing ricin, you could wipe out the entire American population. However, if, as at Northwestern University, the Bernardine Dawn wannabes are developing in the biolab toxins that could be ethnically specific or DNA specific, they might find a way of killing heterosexuals or gays or lesbians or bisexuals or transgender, because evil has no depth as far as these people are concerned. It's all about power. But I do think it's interesting to ponder how your sister, in her various capacities, might have found a spot to hide 1.4 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition in a way that it would be available for the first opportunity for an insurrection that should appear over the next few weeks. Over to you, Phil.
Next few weeks from now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got an email. Denise told me to check my email, and I found out that today's radio show ad apparently is seen by some people as being either too lethal or too offensive. And I'll leave it at that, and I won't identify who expressed that message to me. However, I don't blame people for thinking that I'm too lethal or too disrespectful, but let me tell you who I'm disrespectful towards. I'm disrespectful towards people that engage in pedophilia. I'm disrespectful to people that engage in child murder, sacrifice, and drinking of blood. I'm disrespectful to people that perpetrate genocides, whether it's the Ottoman Empire or the Ukrainian or the Irish or the crop failures in Russia. David, do you remember about an hour ago you were talking about Ukrainian famine in the 1930s?
Yeah, the Holodomor, the terror famine.
Okay, now I always like to ask you if you remember because I often think you don't, but we'll give you another chance here. That doesn't mean it, if you don't remember this, that's not, I don't mean to impugn you. I did teach you what impugn means, didn't I, David?
Yeah, I think it's the first cousin of expropriate.
Yes, that's correct. Do you see that somebody just put up a picture of a yellow convertible and me disguised as Eric Holder, and then another guy disguised as who is the guy? There's a guy that wore a cowboy. Oh yeah, Boss Hogg. So do you see a picture from Agent 66, which reminds me the yellow car is a 66 Imperial and it's got Abel Danger license plates. So we're not trying to hide. But David, I don't blame people who think that maybe I'm overly aggressive, because these are people who may have just been exposed to Abel Danger, say in the last 30 days, to be gracious. But we've been doing this 11 and a half years, and we've not been sued for libel. We've not been put in an insane asylum. We've not been killed, and we've not been slowed down. Over to you, David.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary story, and maybe someone could just pop in some of the basic principles espoused by Sun Tzu in The Art of War. But he says all war is deception. So I can understand the reaction of people coming to the Abel Danger site and saying, "Oh, David, how dare you say those things about, I don't know, black one-legged lesbian?" And I try and explain, although anatomically that's a little difficult, what is meant by tongue-in-cheek. But satire is a very important element to the art of deception. And between Saul Alinsky and Sun Tzu, I think Abel Danger is squatting. Now, we are up against what I think Edgar Hoover described as a handicap for individuals who come face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous that they cannot believe it exists. So I'm quite sure, and actually I'm very sympathetic to the 99% of people out there, we the people, who can't get their head around this conspiracy. But the beauty of following Abel Danger and promoting and sponsoring through Patreon and various other things is we are inching, actually perhaps we're leapfrogging towards the identification of the conspirators, which boils down to, and if we take them down in 24 hours, which is easily, the entire conspiracy collapses. And the conspiracy is built around the corruption of the United States Department of Justice and Prisoner and Alien Transportation System, nicknamed Con Air, which was set up by Field's sister, Christine Marcy, who's the Mendenhall's baby's mother. So Con Air is obviously a very high target, because if you want to deliver a SWAT team into New York before the 9/11 attack, all you got to do is get them in the database, those who would be willing to undertake a level of attack on the United States and risk everything. And there's plenty of those in the justice system and the prison system. For example, at ADX Florence, I believe your sister was able to put Ramzi Youssef beside Ted Kaczynski and Timothy McVeigh. So she got access to some pretty good resources. The second organization is Serco, which is the biggest company you've never heard of. But it did have a shareholders meeting on the 47th floor of the North Tower on the morning of 9/11. where Christopher Hyman made a presentation to shareholders that would have included representatives from 10 global custodians with $80 trillion of assets under management, 3 countries, the United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, and Singapore, and 2 radical elite pension funds for teachers, including TIAA in the United States and the University Superannuation Scheme in the UK. And there you've got all the motivation to reduce the population of the world by 1/3 or 2/3 to preserve the power of world bankers and an intellectual elite. So Serco, Senior Executive Service, and Conair send the United States Marine Corps' marine intelligence activity to take control of all of the contracts that are being managed by or involve those 3 organizations. Problem solved. Over to you, Phil.
Oh, I'm just checking my emails. A lot of stuff coming in today, as well. Why would it not? Somebody, do you know a name? Hang on, David. I want to finish this. Do you know the name Dirty Driveway?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Dirty Driveway just sent me an email. Let's see what it says. And he spelt my name wrong. He spelt my name F-I-L-E-D. Filed. Hey, David, your phone's ringing. I think it's David Dunaway.
Just to answer that, I'll switch onto mute. Hold on.
Are you still there? No, he's not there. Let me read this, and I'll print it in the chat room if I don't find anything that sounds unlikely to be accurate. Dear Field, spelt wrong. I applaud your bold steps into revisionist history to help reveal the carefully hidden aspects of the legacy of the British Crown, British Empire, and indirectly Masonic East India Company through HSBC and the Rothschilds, now Serco financial backers, if not controllers. I ran the old world order of dope. Rothschilds ran the old world order of dope incorporated with Sassoon Rothschilds. Without opium and the slave trade, the British monarchy and the worshipful companies would have gone bankrupt. That's never too late, is it? The Irish Holocaust and the white slave trade are important issues to revisit in the sanitized occlusion of more truthful history of the British Empire. The Black Holocaust of African slaves, the Yellow Holocaust of Chinese opium slaves, the Red Holocaust of genocided Native American First Nations people need to be exposed beyond the obsessive focus of Hollywood on the terrible Nazis. For me, the Royal Charter Masonic East India Company, with the court Jew families of Sassoons and Rothschilds, exceeded the crimes against humanity of the short-lived Nazi Reich technocracy, in quality of brutality and genocide and quantity of human life affected directly across 1/3 of the planet in India, China, Turkey, the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and most of the remaining Commonwealth countries. Though the British Empire left some good legacies of parliamentary democracy, he can't pronounce my word and he can't spell civil service organization and social improvement, also spelled wrong, via engineering, the dark aspects of the British Empire must be exposed for humanity and civilization to improve. Thanks, Field, for your work in helping to set the record straight. Now I'm going to publish that because there's not one fucking bad thing in that anybody that's got a pure heart could object to. So let me put that in the chat room right now. And isn't it nice that I'm posting this under the picture of me in an F-16 and the first of the 2 daughters you see in that little girl dressed in pink who's hiding her sister who's smaller dressed in pink. Her birthday is today, and her name doesn't matter. Once I had a little girl, her name, it doesn't matter. She grew up into a 28-year-old, and no perverts should ever look at her. Hats off to Molly. Anyway, happy birthday, Molly. David, uh, I don't know if I posted the guy's name who sent me this letter, but oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah, yes, Sophie. Yeah, I do know him, and he's a great guy, and I think his reasoning is very, very sound. But do you mind if I go now, because I've got another call booked?
No, go ahead. In fact, there's a song called "Go Now" by the Moody Blues, so we can have a contest and see if you can eliminate yourself before I eliminate you. But we always know how that ends, don't we, David? Okay. Well, we got rid of David. I can't imagine what's more important than what we were doing, but I'm going down the chat room now, and I just want to acknowledge all the kindnesses. First of all, Braveheart, thanks for putting that picture of me in the F-16 with 2 of my 4 daughters. I also have a son, and as most of you know, I had a grandson about 96 hours ago. That was 3 grandsons in 4 months, so God himself, in fact, I'm going to challenge, I'm going to respectfully request someone in the chat room who's familiar with the Bible to find where it says, God will bless you with many days and many children. It's in the Bible somewhere. Now, I would like to honor our recently deceased Agent Lance Dangerfield by holding up his Bible. See, this whole room, and including that wonderful wooden statue I got today of Jesus Christ holding a lamb, that came today, and I didn't even open the package because I don't want people to think I'm a control freak. I'm not. My friend Phil opened the package. He couldn't believe it. I couldn't either. This Bible, it says, presented to Catherine Mary Skilton by her affectionate father on her 5th birthday, 17th day of August of 1873. Here you go. You can look at that. So I'm doing the math now. 1873, that's 145 years ago. This Bible, it's wonderful. This is a gift from Agent Lance Dangerfield. And for those of you who may come, if we have a gathering in Plum City in July, and it would be the 3rd weekend in July, if we have this gathering, we can take a look at both Bibles. I was thinking we could sign them, but I don't think we want to do that. It probably would, that probably wouldn't be a respectful thing to do. But we can pray on both those Bibles. There's one here, there's one in the other room. I'm going to hurry down. Braveheart put a picture of a F-4 in there. That's aircraft 972. That's the one that I shot down a drone with in April of 1982. And the funny part was, and Braveheart would understand this, because in any military organization, there's people that want to have the opportunity to look good in front of their peers. And we had one PQM 102, which, in fact, would somebody put up a picture of a drone PQM 102, please, while I tell this story, which is true. So we had Mike Papa 01 through Mike Papa 04, and we were going to sequentially try to intercept a PQM 102 that was down below a cloud deck. And the cloud deck, as I recall, and I've got pretty good recall, even though that's 36 years ago, right to the month, by the way, the target was in the clear below a cloud deck, and the cloud deck was around 1,500 feet. And so Mike Papa 01 missed the intercept. It's called skip it. Mike Papa 02 missed the intercept. Skip it. Mike Papa 03 missed the intercept. Skip it. Mike Papa Abel Danger said, screw this. They didn't send me out here to skip it. They sent me out here to kill it, which is in military talk, that's splash. So I said to the guy in the back, whose name, to be fair, was Ronald Sager. I said, and I'm trying to, his nickname was Speedface. They don't want me in a courtroom. I can remember all this stuff right down to a gnat's ass. Anyway, I said, hey, Speedface, Based on the fact I used to fly for the Navy and the Marine Corps, would you feel comfortable going a little bit lower so we can kill this drone? And he said, let her rip, potato chip. So we dropped down. We had them on radar. Everybody found the drone on radar, but they didn't go down to take a look. Well, we did. And so we go down below the 1,500-foot hard deck. There's a term, hard deck. It means do not descend below 1,500 feet. And I said, hard deck my ass. And so we dropped down there, and Speedface has the target locked up on the radar. So once we pop out and we see him visually, then actually, he would have said it first. The radar operator, before we dropped out and saw it, would have said, Mike Papa 04 Judy, which means we have the target, we can complete the intercept with no more instructions. And then when we dropped out and I could see it, I said, Mike Papa 04, tally 1, hostile. And they said, cleared to fire. So I go, and at that point, when they cleared me to fire, they turned the drone hard to the left, probably a 4 to 5G turn of an F-102. And they also pulled the throttle back. And it was probably going 450 indicated knots. That'd be about 525 miles an hour. Somebody please correct me. The conversion factor from knots to miles per hour is 1.15. So 1.15 times 450. And when they turned the drone, they also cooled it off. Anybody know what cooled it off means? Yeah, that's right. They pulled the throttle back to idle remotely because there's no pilot in this thing. And I launched the Fox 1, which is a radar missile. And you can hear when a radar missile, the name 7, comes off the aircraft, you can hear it because there's a cable which fires the rocket motor once the missile has separated from the aircraft so that it's not going to burn the aircraft. So anyway, I go Fox 1 and I hear clunk, and then I see the missile streak out in front of me and then do a 90-degree turn. And so I thought, well, it's a dumb missile. And I thought the missile was going to miss. And I turned the F4 away from the target, and Speedface said, hey, Field, illuminate the target, very forcefully and correctly. So that what he meant was put your nose back on the target so the radar can continue to send the electronic energy to the target and bounce off so the missile can do the reverse trajectory. So I put the F4's radar back on the target, since Speedface, Ronald Sager, S-A-E-G-A-R, I think. Anyway, I put the radar back on the target, and then I watched as the missile, which had gone 90 degrees, it went to the center of the circle because the missile was smarter than me. It got to the center of the circle, it did a right 90, and it predicted the collision point, and it went on a steady course right until it flew through the left wing, which was the down wing at the middle of the chord, and it blew a hole right in the wing, and there's fuel there. So what I see is a joyous orange glow as fuel is ignited, and the PQM drone did a slow roll into the water and was gone. Well, there's a message. If you're a pedophile, if you're an enemy of God, there's people out there who are going to make you go away. Okay, if David was here, I'd say over to you, David, but I'm going to scroll down. There's another picture of an F4, that's number 42. We've talked about that picture before. The white helmets indicate that it would have been in the early 80s. And the Pierce family are descended from the Percy family, and they changed their names because they're trying to obfuscate the truth. There's a picture of an F-16 firing an AIM-7 missile. There's a song. Let's see what song this is. I think I know, but I'm not sure I'm right. Oh no, I'm wrong. The song is Go Now by the Moody Blues. So I like being wrong. That's the only time I learn. If I repeat myself about stuff I know to be true, I'm not learning. I scroll down now to the picture of Lance Dangerfield. Thank you, David R. Telford Russian. And Afterburner, she's the girl. And then the guy without sunglasses is Gobsmack. Genesis 28:3 and Deuteronomy 7:13 Molly Cool, what happened to the Dangerettes? Good news. I put it in the radio show ad, but one of the Dangerettes had a lot of schedule conflicts, so Agent Jesse Cat is stepping off that. And speaking of stepping off, Peter G. Peterson, who Able Danger exposed in 2008, just hopped off the perch. He was the guy who we believe killed Senator Percy's twin daughter. But that's for another day for David. He's smart. He can remember stuff I can't. Okay. Good. Al W. Thank you very much, Al W. And the two other people that put it up. That your days be multiplied and the days of your children in the land of the Lord swore unto your fathers to give them as the days of heaven upon the earth. Deuteronomy 11:21. Thank you. And of course, Denise, who keeps field balanced. Well, I've never been accused of being balanced, but I do appreciate your saying kind words about Denise Irene Clark McConnell. So thank you, Mensa Max. And don't ever think that I'm going to expose your real name, even though I've got it, Juliet Bravo. Proverbs 17:5. Grandchildren are the crown of the aged, and the glory of children is their fathers. Couldn't agree more. Happy is the man that has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. Wow. Here's the official big red button. But we're going to do something. Oh, boy, I hope I'm getting, no, I'm not. I'm only 2/3 of the way to the bottom. There's a picture from Braveheart, once again, of a PQM 102 drone. And that is a F-102 that is flown either by a pilot, to get it from A to B, or by a autopilot if it's going to be a target. And there's anybody around that might be a Marine in an Air Force airplane. Let's see. Thank you for posting that. Good night, sweetheart. Sleep tight wherever you are. Don't know that. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see what this is. This is Dean Martin. Oh, good night, sweetheart. There's another good night, sweetheart by the Spaniels. And that's a black group, and it goes like this. Good night, sweetheart. Well, I've gotta go. Boom, 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 boom. Good night, sweetheart. I've gotta go. Anyway, just to show you I'm thinking, the lead singer of the Spaniels, I believe, was Pookie Hudson. P-O-K-I-E-H-U-D-S-O-N. Maybe somebody can tell me if I'm right. Okay, I'm going to, oh, wowee. Tomcat, UAV 960. Okay, I fired at the equivalent of those. Oh, here comes Elvis. Let's see what he's going to sing. And I'm going to say a prayer if somebody asks me.
I know the chord change.
Where no one stands alone. I'll sing that. That's a good song. But I got to go back to the... I'm going to see what this song is. But I'll do... That's Valerie by Steve Winwood, who is a vocalist from England. There's a bunch of thank yous. There's a drone. There's a... Well, I wonder if this is Pookie Hudson. Yeah, it is. It's the Spaniels. Thank you, Braveheart. Say a prayer. Okay, I will. But Pookie, I had one O missing. I'm sorry. Pookie, God bless your memory. I really love you, and I hate to say good night, sweetheart. Good night. Okay, what we're going to do here, I'm going to look for 3 people that give me something to pray about, and that way you can know that I'm not aware of what I'm going to be praying about. But if I can do it, I will say a prayer for one of the first 3 suggestions I get after I get at least 3 suggestions. And then I'll say goodnight, everybody. And I will call my wife, Denise Irene Clark McConnell. And come to think of it, I'll say the prayer, and then I think I'll sing Hats Off to Larry and Where No One Stands Alone. Pray for discernment. That's a good one. Pray for peace. Pray for Pat Tillman. Okay, PPP. Watch this. In fact, let me just, the reason I do this is I turn away from the camera because we're supposed to pray in private. But while I'm praying, you can look at this shirt, which I just got last week. And I'm not taking credit for the shirt. Craig Peterson has created an online store where we sell stuff that we think people may wish. Now I need peace, Pat Tillman, and discernment. Wait a minute, that's not PPP. Peace. Let me just get these 3 assignments. Oh, the new baby. Yeah, thank you. Peace. You know, the P was for pray for discernment. Pat Tillman. Safety of the world's children. Okay, here we go. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you now as a humble and failed servant, and I thank you that you've been keeping me alive, Lord, because when I pray to you every morning, I say, you know, please, Lord Jesus, please continue to use me for your purpose in your kingdom for the world. And now I need to pray for children, first and foremost. Dear Lord, you've given me the discernment to know that the world's children are terribly abused by many, if not most, of the Western governments, including the government of Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States of America. Lord, I don't know why you gave me the discernment to see that, because it's something that is truly repugnant to me, and it causes me to cry on occasion. And I feel that way especially since you've been so kind to me that you've given me a grandson born in November of 2017, a grandson born in December of 2017, and a grandson born in April. And April, it was just Thursday morning of last week. That would have been April 19th at 11:58 p.m. So thank you for those 3 grandsons, Lord Jesus. I'd like to pray for world peace, because your name is the Prince of Peace. And even though there's scientists and academicians who don't agree with me, the discernment which you've given me so far convinces me that you have ordained peace and you will deliver it. And it makes my academic partner, David Hawkins, very nervous when I predict something, but I'm not going to predict something because that could be misinterpreted. But I'll just say it would not surprise me in the least, Lord Jesus, if you deliver justice and peace in the time frame of 6/6/18, which is the 6th of June of 2018, and 11/10/2018, which is the 10th of November of 2018. And there's so many people who've been injured by the evil perpetrators that dirty driveway just encouraged me, Lord, and we should all encourage each other. I hope I get this right, and if not, someone in my chat room will correct me. But I think the power of encouragement is written in 1 Thessalonians 4:18 and 1 Thessalonians 5:11, and it also in Psalm 20, excuse me, let me think about this. Yeah, I think it's Psalm 27:14. It says, wait on the Lord, be encouraged and wait on the Lord, or something like that. But Lord, we need peace, we need security and safety and love and respect, protection and providence for the world's children, not just the white children in America, not just the black children in Canada, not just the yellow children in the United Kingdom, or not just the red children in Canada. I think I got Canada in there twice. Maybe I didn't. But, you know, black and yellow, red and white, they are precious in your sight. So Jesus, God, please, and Holy Spirit, please cover these children with the precious blood of the innocent lamb slain. And also for Pat Tillman, when he had 3 bullets heading his way, he may have quietly, I'm not suggesting he did, but he may have seen what is truly important in this life, and he may have called out very quickly, Jesus. That's all you have to say. You don't have to say, Jesus, spare me, Jesus, save me. Jesus, protect me. Jesus, get me out of this terrible and fatal mess. All you have to say is the word Jesus. That is the name above all names. I hope my prayer is sweet music to you, Lord. I say this with all humility and love, respect, and awe. And now we're going to lighten this up, Lord, if that's okay with you. And I know you want us to, I know you don't want us to be burdened. You want us to have the perfect peace that you identify in John 14:27. So I'll say this prayer is made in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And now to lighten this up, I'm going to butcher a couple of songs. One of which is a gospel song where no one stands alone. And then one is going to be for my wife, Denise Irene Clark McConnell, who evil men have kept from me for the last 16 months. And Lord, I can't force them to remedy that, but you can indwell in their hearts a spirit of regret and a sense of justice and deliver my wife to me before you deliver me to you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Okay. Would somebody please put up where no one stands alone? And I hope I got these quotes right. Teach me thy way. Oh, thank you. Actually, oh, yes, here it is. Psalm 27:14. Hope in the Lord, be strong, which means encouraged, and he shall comfort thy heart. Trust in the Lord. Okay. Hope in the Lord, be strong. He shall comfort thine heart. Trust in the Lord. God bless and pray for Abel Danger. Thank you, Agent J. Field, Denise, David H., David R., and all the followers of the important work we're given to do on behalf of good. Strengthen us, Jesus, and affirm our efforts in this ongoing battle. Amen. Until our next meeting, we raise our voices in song to you, dear Lord. Well, let's see what song this is. It's from Go Banks.
You know, I know the chord changes. Fellas, where no one stands alone. Yeah? So did Stamps and Cheryl Nielsen. Sound good. All right.
Hope I remember all the words. We're going to find out here real quick. Better clear my throat, right? Give me a B flat.
Once, every direction, right front. Once I stood in the night with my head held low in the darkness as black as the sea. And my heart felt alone, and I cried, oh Lord, don't hide your face from me. Like a king, I may live in a palace so tall, with great riches to call my own. But I don't know a thing in this whole wide world that's worse than being alone.
I don't want to be alone, God. Bring Denise back or send me to her.
Hold my hand all the way, every hour, every day. I'm here to the great unknown. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone. Take my hand, let me stand where no one
Stands. I can't do that. That's called blow harmony. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But at least I know what it's called. Okay. I don't know who picked that song, but God bless you for a meaningful set of lyrics and a good song.
One on back here.
Uh-oh, there's the Moody Blues trying to sing. We're not going to go there. Back to the chat room. Oh, okay. Oh, that's funny. I can't believe it. Actually, I can believe it. Um, I was going to say I can't believe it. Somebody put up a picture of Denise and I at a restaurant called Muddy Waters in Prescott, Wisconsin, where we were having a lovely dinner. On one of the days she came home from London, and she'll come home again. Either that or I'll go home and wait. Then somebody put up a Braveheart. Thank you. I wanted to put this picture in the radio show today of Denise and I with the angel hovering over the two of us. And I can assure the world that there are angels hovering over Denise and I, even though we're apart. Let me read this from Hebrews. Now may the God of peace, who brought again from the dead our Lord Jesus, the great shepherd of the sheep, by the blood of the eternal covenant, equip you with everything for doing his will, and may he work in us what is pleasing to him through Jesus Christ, to whom the glory for over and over. Then there's me playing the sax. Then there's three evil people. But, oh, good. I was just going to say the song isn't here, but here. To you, to you. Okay, that's Del Shannon, and I'm going to end this radio show once we get the red button, once we get the protocol. Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Oh, Keelani, I know the words of this. So we're going to have one more song. And then if your name's in the book, you get to stay. They're celebrating as they're throwing his ashes back into the sea. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's beautiful. He's speaking Hawaiian there. Boy, that's a touching song, and I'm sure glad that somebody put it up. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. I love that song. Thank you, Kimberly says. Played this at the memorial for my brother in Glen. Yeah, really enjoying this. Good. Yeah, thanks a lot, Kialani. In fact, Kialani, before you go, could you tell us what Kialani means in Hawaiian? And if you do that for me, I'll tell them what Mele Kalikimaka means, and I'll do that for you. I played it for my dad when he flew west. Well, that's an interesting choice of words. Airline pilots say to fly west is a flight we must all take. And what that means is we're all going to die. So, Denise, I hope you remember that it would be my wish for you to play that song for our children. And I think that's about time to wrap this up. Would somebody put up the big red button, please? Yeah, you're right. Merry Christmas. Okay, let's try another one. Mele Kaliki Maka and Haoli Makahiki Ho. That means Happy New Year. New Year. Go Banks, Winnipeg Eye Center. God bless everyone at Abel Danger. Thank you. I got to get this red button to come up in the protocol. Boy, we have a great. Yeah, Kialani is a beautiful name. There's the big red button. Thank you very much. Karen S. showed up late because I sang 3 songs, Karen, and maybe you heard them. Kialani Carol.